Shares of SailPoint are lower amid the broader tech sell-off today. They were up as much as 4% pre-trade after beating on the top and bottom lines in their first earnings report since re-entering the public markets last month. Shares are down about 4% since then. Joining me in a First on CNBC interview is Mark McClain. He is the founder and CEO of SailPoint Technologies. Mark, welcome.
Thank you, Kelly. It's great to be here.
There's so many different facets of cybersecurity. You guys do identity security. What is that?
In simple terms, it's making sure that all the identities that an enterprise or a large organization like a governmental entity cares about are accurately accessing all the right information. So what we mean by that is we have all these accounts and passwords we all use in our home, right? Well, at work, we also have accounts and passwords that let people get into systems like Salesforce and ServiceNow and Oracle and everything else. Well, today, there's a well-understood phenomenon of the attackers, that the bad actors are often trying to attack that identity vector, trying to compromise credentials or accounts so they can get into systems and data. Our software helps the enterprise get their arms around the entire identity landscape, all those identities that the company cares about, their employees, their contractors, increasingly non-human identities, and then ensures that those identities have the right access to the right data at the right time. So it's a pretty complex problem at scale. That's what we do.
It's interesting you say that in light of what's been happening this week with these messages out of the White House. And I don't know if you've had any special insight on what could kind of prevent or ring fence or the vulnerabilities about, discussing sensitive material on Signal. And as our guest the other day said, it's more about whether you access Signal on a desktop maybe than even on your iPhone. So do you have a level of sophistication to potentially bring to the subject matter here or to your government clients in trying to make sure that information stays on secure devices or where it's supposed to or with the identities that it's supposed to?
Yes and no. I don't want to wade in where I'm not an expert, Kelly, but what I can tell you is there's a couple things that are germane to what we do about this story. One is, there's a concept you may have already heard called shadow IT, which is that there's a lot of systems sometimes that aren't officially approved by the folks that control the technology, and yet they're used in an enterprise or an organization. In this case, it was the non-approved text system, right? The shared text system Signal. Nothing against Signal, but I don't think that was approved for some of these kinds of communications. And then there was an identity problem, the wrong identity, apparently. Either they got the wrong person when they met someone else, or just someone who wasn't supposed to be there at all apparently got added. That is the kind of thing we do. Now, I'm not sure we could have prevented this problem because this was a text thread and somebody got added to a text thread. I'm not sure we are capable of preventing that action today, but there's a sense of that's an example of the kind of problems where you want to make sure the right identities, in this case people, have access to the right data.
Sure.
In this case, obviously, it was a problem.
So, and is this true? 50% of the Fortune 500 are your clients using your services to help make sure that their information is staying with who it's supposed to stay with?
Yeah, that's accurate, and it's kind of a sign of how broadly this problem is understood in the large-scale enterprises around the globe, and that they're spending money with people like SailPoint to make sure they're addressing this concern of protecting their information through the lens of identity.